Good evening, everyone, especially to you, Sir Choi. Good evening. Our topic for today is all about global migration.
Global migration. Facts about global migration. Did you know that people who migrate are called migrants? There are 258 million international migrants worldwide as of 2017. 48% of these international migrant stock are female. There are an estimated 36.1 million migrants children, 48 million international students, and 150.3 million migrant workers.
Another fact about global migration. Did you know that approximately 31% of the international migrant stock worldwide reside in Asia, 30% in Europe, 26% in the Americas, 10% in Africa, and 3% in Oceania? The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 18th of December as International Migrants Day.
Definition of migration. United Nations. Migration is a way where migrants move from one place to another in search of labor, of economic opportunities, to join family, or to study. It also considered other social, economic, cultural, and political factors of the place. Mao ni ang movement of people from one place to another. Example, gapangitag trabaho. Daghan tawo nga mobalhin aron lang mangitag mas maayo nga trabaho o mas naay taas nga sweldo. Definition of migrant. United Nations Migration Agency. A migrant is any person who is moving or has moved across an international border or with a state away from his habitual place of residence, regardless of this is following. So, ang United Nations Migration Agency mao ni ang usa ka tawo nga mobalhin sa usa ka lugar paingon sa lain bisan sa sulod o sa gawas nasod. Regardless ani is the following. First is the person legal status. Second is whether the movement involuntary or involuntary. Third, that the causes for the movement are, and the last, what is land of the stay is.
Definition of migrant in UNESCO. Migrant does not refer to refugees, displaced, or others forced or compelled to leave their homes. Migrants are people who make choices about when to leave and where to go, even though these choices are sometimes extremely constrained. So, the definition of migrant in UNESCO, it says that migrants choose to move even if their choices are limited by things like poverty or instability. This is different from refugees who are forced to leave their homes because of other circumstances like threat to their safety. So, ang migrant is kagustuhan nila or choice nila na mahawa sa ilang country, while ang refugees is kanang na-force ra og balihin tungod sa dangers na naa sa ilang country like wars. What are the two types of migration? Migration is classified into two types, and those are internal migration and international migration. So first is internal migration. As adopted from International Organization for Migration, World Migration Report 2015, internal migration is a movement of people within a state involving the establishment of a new temporary or permanent residence. So, internal migration is when a people move from one place to another but with the same country for the reasons like kanang gasik sila og better job opportunities or mobalhin sila, it's because gusto nila duol sila sa ilang other relatives. So for example, ako mobalhin ko Manila kay mas daghan og better na job opportunities didto kaysa diri. Nagbalhin kog lugar, but same lang ang country nga akong gibalhinan. Lugar lang akong balhinan pero dili country. Second is international migration. International migration is the movement of a persons away from their place of a usual residence and across an international border to a country of which they are not nationals. So international migration refers to a people who move from one country to another country. For example, Akong dream is to become a famous doctor, but diri sa atong country walay best nga schools for medicine. So nag-decide ko nga mobalhin ko United States kay mas better ang school sa United States. Nagbalhin ko dito to pursue my goals. So gikan ko Philippines, nagbalhin ko sa lain nga country which is sa United States. How are international migrants categorized? International migrants are classified according to the following common categories in UNESCO. First is temporary labor migrant, highly skilled and business migrant, irregular migrant, forced migrant, family members, and return migrant.
Temporary labor migrant, also known as guest workers or overseas contract workers. These are the people who migrate for a limited period of time in order to take up employment and send money home. So, from the word temporary, no, mao ni siya ang mga gapangtrabaho sa lain nasod nga naalay limited time. Like for example, sa mga OFW na lang sila contract nga magtrabaho sa Thailand or Europe within 2 to 6 years. After that, pwede na sila muli sa Philippines, maong gitawag lang sila guest worker, which means wala sila karapatan nga magstay dadto nga lugar. Highly skilled and business migrant. These are people with professional qualification who move within the internal labor markets of transnational corporations and international organizations. Those who seek employment through international labor markets for scarce skills are also considered on this qualification of migrants. From the high-skilled, morning mga professional like nakagraduate as engineering, nursing, mga inana nga profession which given an opportunity to work outside the country. Dito sila magtrabaho sa Netherlands kay dako ang sweldo sa engineering or nursing. Kani sila kay nag-migrant kay ilang skill na apil sa qualification dito nga lugar. Irregular migrant, also known as undocumented or illegal migrants. These are people who enter a country usually in search of employment without the necessary documents and permits. So, from the word irregular, this is the migrants that had no visa or also known undocumented or illegal migrants. Let's go back sa first type of migrants which is temporary labor migrant. If magstay sila dito, bali ilang green card nag-expire na mong if may balance sila nga walay green card, dakpon sila kay ipauli sa kung asa sila gikan or mas worst kay ipakulong sila. Forced migration. This includes not only refugees and asylum seekers but also people forced to move due to external factors such as environmental catastrophes or development projects. This form of migration has similar characteristics to displacement. The people are being forced to migrate because of environmental disaster like drought that leads to hunger. Example of conflict is the most common factor for forced migration around the world. Most recently, the world's focus has been on the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar, with nearly 75% of the country's Muslim population fleeing to neighboring Bangladesh in the wake of violence and ethnic cleansing. Family members, also known as family reunion or family reunification migrants. These are people sharing family ties joining relatives who have already entered an immigration country under one of the above-mentioned categories. It is also known as family reunion or family reunification migrants. Refugee family reunification is where a family has separated and at least one member of the family was recognized as a refugee or complementary protection holder by the country he or she lives in.
Return migrants, these are people who return to their countries of origin after living in another country for some time. So return migrants, these are people who move back to their country after living abroad. For example, me, naglaka ako sa Canada para magtrabaho. Then, after pila ka years, nagbalik na pod ko sa akong home country, which is ang Philippines. So, maunang return migrants. Naglakaw ka sa lain nga country, but nagbalik na pod ka sa imong home country. Push factors, these are factors that induce people to move out of their present location. So push factors are the negative aspects of a person's home country that force them to migrate to another country. From the word push, they essentially push people away from their homes. For example, akong home country is naay war. So magbalhin ko other country para sa akong safety. So ang war ang nag-push sa ako na magbalhin og another country. Pull factors, these are factors that induce people to move into a new location. So pull factors are the positive aspects of a destination country that attract migrants. For example, ako, 'di ba ganiha sa push factors kay naghawa ko sa akong home country, it is because of a war. So nag-adto ko sa country na mas peaceful ug mas stable ang society. So ang pull factors kay mura siya magnet nga mag-pull sa imuha padulong sa lahi nga location. Social factors, there are cases where family conflict or a young adult quest for independence lead to migration. There are women who migrate to their husband's place for the sake of their marriage. Social factors is mas piliun nimo nga magbalhin kag lugar nga ganahan ka or kanang naa kay ginalikayan nga conflict. For example, ako, na ako'y kaaway sa akong family. So, kanang mas ginapili na ko nga mag-migrate na lang kaysa magpadayon tong away sa akong family. Likayan, mas pili na ko nga mulikay sa conflict bitaw between sa akong family mong mag-migrate na lang ko. Cultural factors, people are pushed to migrate because of cultural diversity, religious conflict, racial and or other forms of discrimination. So cultural factors is kanang ang mga tao kay na-push og migrate kay gina-disrespect ilang culture o ilang beliefs. So nag-migrate sila sa lugar nga walay discrimination and gina-respect ang different beliefs nato kay we already know man na we have our own beliefs good, so we should respect that. Economic factors, migrants are pushed to move from one place to another because of underemployment and underdevelopment on their place. So economic factors is na-push ang mga tao na magbalhin og place. It's because ilang lugar is walay kausaban. So nagbalhin sila sa lugar nga daghan og resources. Because when we say economic, it's all about resources. So mas pilion nila na magpuyo sa lugar na ay mas greater job opportunities and economic opportunities. Political factors, there are people who choose to leave their place due to persistent political violence or recurring political threats. So political factors is people seek to live in place nga feel nila na secure and free sila from political conflicts. From the word politics, it influenced government policies. So, mas gustohon sa mga tao na magpuyo sa lugar na mas feel nila nga safe sila o mas peaceful ang community. In summary, migration is a way where migrants move from one place to another in search for better opportunities socially, economically, culturally, and politically. People who migrate are called migrants. Migrants are people who make choices about when to live and where to go. Migration is classified as internal or international migration. Internal migration is the movement of people within a state involving the establishment of a new temporary or permanent residence. International migration is the movement of persons away from their place of usual residence and across an international border to a country of which they are not nationals. The classifications of international migrants are temporary labor migrant, highly skilled and business migrant, irregular migrant, forced migration, family members, and return migrant. Push factors induce people to move out of their present location. Pull factors induce people to move into a new location.